It's been a long time since I've made a YouTube video. Just wanted to make an update because my life has changed so much in the last couple years. My hair is really long now. One of the reasons why I want to make this video is because the last video I posted was very negative.
Yes, I've been growing out my hair. You may have also noticed that I now look like a haggard old bag. Yes, I was taking photos of myself and I saw this particular picture, and upon viewing this photograph, I came to the conclusion that my youth is gone. I have failed. My life has been a waste.
I did not have super high hopes for my future. Things didn't seem like they were working out how I wanted. I didn't know what steps I needed to take in order to progress my life in the direction that I wanted. I felt ugly. I felt weird. I felt my best friend was moving out of the city. I felt like I wasted my 20s, especially with COVID and everything, and being stuck in my small town for a little bit during my late teens, early 20s. And I felt like I missed this big opportunity and I've been wasting my life and all this negative stuff, and nothing was really working out. So I wanted to make another video informing you that my life is really, really good right now, and things have changed a lot in ways that I could have never expected, ever. I'm married. I'm married to my wonderful husband. Yes, you heard that right, husband. I know I identified as a lesbian for a long time. I'm not sure where to put my label now. I guess bisexual, maybe, but it really doesn't matter because he is my only long-term relationship, and so it doesn't even really matter, and it's kind of weird even having to address it. But I know people will be like, "Oh my god, I thought you were a lesbian, blah blah blah, in the other video you said you were a lesbian, you were da, 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 da." Yeah, since 2015, for a long time, that's what I thought I was. And people are gonna laugh, like, we knew it, and you just need to.
Everybody thinks I'm straight, and like, I'm trying so hard, you know? I'm wearing the stuff from the boys section of the Gap. I have a pair of Doc Martens. My hair's cut short. Like, come on.
I have this image of like an old lady being like, oh, she just needed to find the right man. I do feel like being an ex-lesbian is very funny. It's very on trend right now, very JoJo Siwa. But in all honesty, I think I fit more on the demisexual side. I do hate that label. I think it's very cringe. I just have a hard time feeling really attracted to people unless I have an emotional connection with them first, or I know them well. And I had very valid reasons for thinking I was a lesbian, like no celebrity crushes whatsoever. Girls in my class be like, oh, look at this boy from the town over, like, he's so cute. And I would be like I would see pictures of hot celebrities and feel absolutely nothing. And, you know, all the girls around me were like swooning, talking about boys, being like, oh my god, this guy's so hot, this guy's so cute. And half the time I would just, it'd be like I'm looking at a piece of cardboard, essentially. I'd be like, yeah, I guess he's good looking, or honestly, I think he's not very good looking. I don't know what you guys are freaking out about, but okay. But I found that I spent a lot more time with girls, just in group projects at work. I'd usually be, you know, in the girls group or this and that. It's not, even though my close friends were usually all guys, they're normally like gay guys. I normally only have like one friend at a time. So it wasn't like I was in like these social groups where I was hanging out with all these different guys for extended periods of time. So I felt like I was able to develop more of a connection with girls and maybe develop a crush of some kind, because I spent more time with, you know, individual girls in group settings continuously than I did with guys, potentially. It's not like it was, I did have crushes on girls. And also, like, I'm not sure if girls just having more obvious, like, secondary sexual characteristics. Maybe I'm just more picky when it comes to guys than girls. I don't know. Also, I like dressing in men's clothes. I like the short hair. I like wearing a blazer. It just all, you know, it all screamed lesbian. I remember being in drama class and always wanting to be a guy in skits. I remember talking about like, oh, my wife is nagging me again. I related a lot more to guys, I think. That was another thing that was getting me down before, because I was like, oh, you know, I've never had a long-term relationship. I've never really dated too much.
I'm 25. I've never been in any sort of romantic relationship. Never had a girlfriend. Nothing. Badoo.
And I'm, you know, approaching, you know, my mid-20s, late 20s. Also, online dating, as somebody who needs an emotional connection to really like fall for somebody, was horrible, because you would just go through photos and be like, I think that person's my type. I think that person looks pretty or whatever, and then build up all these kind of expectations, whether you meant to or not, before the date. And then you feel all this pressure during the date, like, oh, I have to figure out if I'm attracted to this person right now, or if I, you know, go on more dates, and if I'm not attracted to them, I'm leading them on. And then a lot of the time you would meet up with this person and they wouldn't fill this expectation that you've already built up, or the vibe is just off. Like, a lot of the times it's like very, for me anyways, it's not just based off of how somebody looks, but it's the energy they give off, the vibe, the personality, their sense of humor, demeanor, the whole thing. So I might meet up with this person and none of that matches at all. And it was, I don't know, just online dating, I just felt was really not good for me and not very successful. I feel like a lot of people feel the same way. But my husband, I met just at a barbecue meetup. It was very spontaneous. Neither of us were looking for a relationship or thought we would be in a relationship anytime soon. And we just met each other and something clicked. We hung out more and we fell in love, and the rest is history. And even then, it was like, it wasn't immediate. I was like, oh, you know, let's, yeah, hang out. Oh, we have this in common. Yeah, sure. Oh, we could do this and that. Like, it wasn't like, it took a little bit for me to realize, oh, I'm falling in love with this person. There's something more there. I've never been, I've always been a lesbian, and I've never fell in love with a guy before. I wasn't sure how to navigate that, but then things just happened and fell into place, and now I am married. So I've been spending a lot of time in the Caribbean as of this spring for my husband's work. I've been really enjoying it. It has been very hot, extremely hot, very humid. Beaches are fantastic. It's a pretty relaxed, chill place. Everyone's on island time. And I've also been volunteering a lot with local shelters and fostering dogs and puppies, and I've been really, really enjoying that. I've never had such a strong connection to animals. I know as a little kid, I was obsessed with dogs. I would, you know, read the dog books. I'd know all the dog breeds. I just want dogs, animals. And after the divorce and the move, things were just so chaotic. And even when we did get a little dog, a Boston Terrier pug cross named Buster, it was hard for me to really feel that bond, because things were just so all over the place. I had so many other concerns, and to be honest, the dog wasn't very well trained, and it was distressing, and you know, the whole, you know, good dog, nice dog. Now my special interests have looped all the way around, and I'm obsessed with dogs again. I'm watching all the dog training videos, looking at the breeds, looking at the temperaments, looking at, you know, all the different sports dogs to do, what different breeds excel in, the best way to train certain types of dogs and what they need, and all blah, blah, blah. I briefly fostered a 9-month-old Dutch Shepherd puppy. For the first day or two, didn't bark, super relaxed, just wanted to curl up in a ball on the couch. But after a little bit, that energy started coming out, that Dutch Shepherd. I ended up fostering a couple really little puppies, and I got really attached to these puppies. These puppies I was just in love with. I've never felt such a bond, especially you know, nurturing them, waking up at all hours of the night, cleaning after them, playing with them. I'd literally like rock them like a baby until they fell asleep. It worked, you know, just bouncing them and they would fall asleep in your arms. And it was great. There was the 2 puppies from the same litter. They both looked very different and had very different personalities, kind of similar to me and my twin sister. The one I called Red was a bit more fluffier, a bit more shepherd. They were like a shepherd cross. Mom was kind of shepherd. Dad, don't know about, maybe pit bull, who knows. Probably just a mix of a bunch of things. But she was a quick learner. She would always be trying to figure out how to get what she wanted. She was the first to bark. She was loud. She tried to get you to do what she wanted. She liked things her own way. She'd be a little bit more adventurous. She'd be the first one to try, like jumping off the couch or doing this or doing that. And then there was Yellow, who was a little less independent, was always wanted to have her head on your lap or something like that. She'd be the one to whine in the middle of the night more often, and she'd be following after her more independent sister and learning a bit from her. Both of them loved people. If I was out with them and they saw somebody, they would go berserk and they would just want to run towards them and play with them. Yellow was a bit more relaxed overall, despite being a bit needy. Like, I noticed if the new person that they were interacting with would walk away, Red would be a lot more bothered by it for a little longer than Yellow. Like, Red wanted control over her surroundings, but Yellow was just like, you know, as long as I can cuddle with you, I'm okay, you know. As long as things are good, I'm good. I actually got to foster Yellow again because I went back to Canada for a bit. I thought they were both going to go to their forever homes, actually being flown out to Canada. And while I was gone, I thought I'd never see them again. Red went to a home in Canada while I was gone, and then Yellow was still here for another week when I got back, so I was able to foster Yellow for a little bit again, and that was so wonderful. Well, she did wreck my husband's laptop. She bit it, and that was not good, but it was a wonderful experience. She was just the cutest, best, most relaxed, cuddly dog, but super playful. A little bit more independent than the last time I saw her, but still just a cuddle bug. And a little bit of a retriever at heart, despite being like a shepherd, possibly pit bull mix thing. She just had a natural instinct to retrieve. I would throw the ball, she'd bring it right back to me. And she liked swimming. She'd get a little bit overwhelmed if it was in the middle of the day and the waves were a little bit harsher. But as soon as it was nighttime and the waves would settle down and there's less people, she was much more into it. Overall, she definitely took up swimming and got the hang of it a lot faster than a lot of other puppies.
Good job, Wiggly.
I miss her. I kind of wanted to keep her a little bit, but I also know it's not the best time for us to have a dog because there's going to be a lot of moving around and things, and we want to make sure we have the right environment for whatever dog we end up getting in the future. And I want to help as many puppies as I can by fostering. After my last YouTube video, I made a TikTok account because I was like, I guess nobody goes on YouTube anymore. Everyone's on TikTok. I'll try that. It was actually pretty successful. I went viral a couple times. I was gaining an audience. But it was kind of, like I said, I was in a negative headspace. It was a lot of self-deprecating humor, a lot of, you know, just kind of weird energy, a little rage bait, not quite. There's a lot of like pure good content, but I was also kind of excited because I was getting like views, and I would try to be like, okay, what makes the audience react? What does the audience like? And then I would start, you know, looking at like trending sounds and all that stuff and trending videos and what I could kind of stitches and all. And then it made me spend more time on that app than I even wanted to, just seeing like, well, what was trending, what ideas can I do for my videos and stuff like that. Not even really for recreation. And then they would be like, oh, and hours have passed, and I'd make these little videos, and I had fun with it. I liked it. I liked making people laugh. I liked engaging with the audience. I like being creative and making videos again. And I do like the idea of short form content for some things, but I have mixed feelings about TikTok as a platform. I just don't like how immediately like a video pops up and things start playing, and it's just like very overwhelming, and you get all sorts of different things. It's kind of cool, and it's good to get exposure because they show your video to all sorts of different people. There's just a lot of like weird stuff going on TikTok, and a lot of like unhealthy behaviors. So I have mixed feelings about it. Maybe I'll post YouTube Shorts. I might post a little bit on TikTok. And I'm fine with like a little bit of like self-deprecation, but I don't know. I just need to take a little break from TikTok. And then I tried to do TikTok again a little bit, and I just wasn't really feeling it. Also, my front camera on my old phone was like cracked. I wasn't getting the views I was used to, and I don't know, it just wasn't. Yeah, I made a couple TikToks and just kind of petered out again. It was kind of fun going viral, and you'd get thousands of comments, and then a lot of time it was people making fun of my appearance or accusing me of being transgender, and then I would make a response to that and then stir the pot of it. It was a little fun. 1 million views on TikTok doesn't really mean anything anymore. I feel like there's so many people all posting, and there's so many people on the platform. It's like, it's nothing. Like 1 million views on YouTube like a few years ago meant a bit, and even now, you know, but on TikTok, you just, it's 15 minutes of fame, and everyone just forgets about the video and moves on to the next thing. It screws with your brain. But I do actually really like making YouTube videos. I know it's dorky, it's dumb, whatever. I like it for some reason. Kind of like a little diary. I look at my old YouTube videos and I'm glad I made them. I like looking back and seeing, oh, what I was thinking at that time, where I was at, and they're kind of fun and pure, and I like it. Sometimes I have a hard time with, you know, big groups of people or being social and at parties, but I still like connecting with people and sharing my ideas and my perspective, which is one of the reasons why I love art and I love creating. But this gives a more direct way for me to show me and what I think and feel, and you know, I can just show my fashion and this and that. And art, I love art and I love drawing, and it's like, but it's just a completely different thing. It's not as, I don't know, it becomes like my art becomes its own entity. It's not as much, yes, I created it, but once I've created it, it's its own thing, you know? I also want to make YouTube videos and even TikTok, part of the reason so I could start making products and merchandise, cards, t-shirts, throw pillows. Like, I love making things, and I wanted to, you know, become popular on YouTube or something, and then get an audience who would be interested in buying my stuff, because I was at a point where I was like, I can't just throw all a bunch of money making a fashion line that when I don't really know how to properly market it and all this stuff. And like, but a lot of people have been really successful becoming, you know, influencers, YouTubers, and then making merch lines or fashion lines, kind of like the Teddy Fresh thing. Then I would like gradually pivot to that, because I feel like that's where like my real passion lies. But I have so many different interests and so many different things I want to try and dabble in. Art, greeting cards, vintage collecting, opening up my own store. I'm actually going to be taking a course on heritage resource management. I'm really excited for it. It's like curating and preserving and authenticating antiques for museums. And I feel really good about it because it indulges my artistic side, but it's also a little more academic and practical, because I had very mixed feelings about going to art school, even if I really wanted to, because you couldn't really be guaranteed a job afterwards. More of a academic certification. I could work in a museum. I could work for a private collector. I could work for an authenticator, maybe even some restoration. I could work on movie sets, making sure everything is period appropriate and sourcing period appropriate things. There's a few different avenues I can take this. I could open up my own store. I can, and I can build upon it with like an art history degree and a few other things. I was thinking maybe even getting a teaching degree and teaching art. I feel like I have a few more opportunities, and in retrospect, I feel like I always kind of had these opportunities, but I had really low self-esteem, and I felt like everything always had to be done by myself. There was a lot of valid reasons why I had low self-esteem. Like, I wasn't necessarily encouraged that I could do these things, like go to post-secondary and this and that. It was like, oh, that's expensive. Oh, a lot of people get degrees and they don't get jobs. You don't have a college fund. How are you going to pay for this? The student debt, that's going to ruin you, and blah, blah, blah.
My life was a waste. I am completely incompetent. I might as well just accept the fact that I'm just going to be a loser for the rest of my life. Strangely enough, I don't have any regrets. Considering the hand I was dealt, I'm not sure how much I would change or what I would be able to change, but doesn't mean I'm entirely content with how my life is played out. Then again, I do think every day about those people working in the factories with the suicide nets and, with the bugs in their skin, all those third world people, which make up the majority of the population. I think my life is really good.
I really did not like going to school growing up. I struggled a lot. It was horrible for my self-esteem, socially, academically. I just didn't have the supports I needed to thrive academically. I went to a really bad public school. I'm very much into the idea of sending my kids to private school because of my public school experience. Had a couple good teachers, but overall things were just not very good at my public school. I really wanted to learn, and I was like, okay, the kids who get good grades get more opportunities and have more interesting careers and make more money. I want to do that. But I try so hard and not really have the success I wanted, partly due to like ADD, Asperger's, whatever was going on, just the environment, I don't know. And I would be like begging for help and trying to communicate what I needed, but then the teachers would just get frustrated or thinking that I was purposely making their life harder for some reason, and just didn't want to deal with me, or got tired of it, and I got tired of it. And in my last year of high school, I thought that maybe going on like Ritalin or something would help, and I'd be like, finally, I could just look at the whiteboard and just hear what they're saying and just have the information come in and know it, and it wouldn't be this whole thing. Because when I would go to school, when I would look at the board, it was just like all this stuff was happening in my head. Like it was just like fuzz. Even if I was looking at it super hard, I'm like, if I look at it really hard, I'll be listening. And I thought ADD wouldn't apply to me, because when I heard ADD, I just thought kids running around the classroom being disruptive. I was always sitting quietly in this and wanting to learn. So I'm like, okay, no ADD. But then when I figured out more about it, I'm like, maybe that's something that's applicable to me. I asked a pediatrician and psychiatrist, and they actually got mad at me and like, you're a young girl, look at you, dress so nicely and this and that. You don't have ADD. You're just looking for attention, blah, blah, blah. And even so, I don't have an ADD diagnosis. I was just like, why bother? Like, what? Well, searching for that diagnosis at this point isn't really going to do anything for me. I don't want to get on Adderall or anything like that. I think that'd probably just make my life worse. I know of kids who were diagnosed with ADD and went on Adderall and ended up ruining their lives because they end up getting into other drugs and playing around with their Adderall. Not good. So I just have to accept that I have certain challenges socially and, maybe academically, and figure out certain methods to combat that, and that's just how it is. So I had a lot of apprehension about doing post-secondary because of how bad my public school experience was, even though a lot of people say, oh, it's totally different. I'm like, well, what happens if I can't pay attention and properly study? What happens if I do badly and I spend all this money and I try really hard? And, like I had all these fears. But I feel like a lot more confident in my abilities now. I feel like I have a lot more support. So I am looking forward to starting school, even though I am dreading it a little bit based off of my prior experiences. Just I'm like, school bad, I'm also Catholic now, getting into that heterosexual culture. Some could say I'm becoming a trad wife. It's true, I do want kids though. I never wanted kids before, partly because I'm like, I have all these issues. I can't see myself in a relationship really. But yeah, for a long time, even as a kid, a lot of people would talk about like, Prince Charming and this and that. And I was just like, I just see myself living alone in an apartment doing my own thing. Maybe I'll have a little fling with a girl, last a year, and then she'll break up with me. I'll never want to date again, and that's probably going to be the extent of it. But I am married to a guy who also really wants kids. I want to start a family because I've always had ideas about parenting and, how I'd raise my kids and what I'd do with my kids. But, I can't be a parent myself because I'm too screwed up and I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Something I said about parenting. Now, I said that I did not like it when parents grabbed onto certain parenting fads to one-up other parents at the expense of their child's well-being. Now, I did not want this to come across as I was hating on parents who were looking up parenting techniques to try to better their parenting skills and their children's lives. Because frankly, parenting is a hard job. At least it seems like it. I couldn't parent a walnut. The child would be able to overpower me by the time they turn 2 years old. And it's hard to keep up when it seems like every year the experts say something new and contradictory to what they said last year.
And I realized I am a lot more strong than I give myself credit for. I have been through a lot and overcome a lot. And also I just think about the joy of creating a child with someone you love and both of your features being in them and raising them. And a lot of people just focus on the baby part. And yes, the baby part and the kid part is super important. A lot of people think about the baby in a negative way, like, I couldn't, that just seems, babies, bleh, I don't like babies. Or they get so focused, like, I love babies. And then when their kids grow up, they have a hard time, accepting or dealing with that in a healthy way. But childhood is just a tiny portion of the whole thing. For most of your life, you're going to have adult kids, and the idea of having adult kids, adult offspring, I guess they're not kids anymore, but whatever, I find to be so cool. And to just be able to talk adult to adult with a being that you made. And also I was thinking about the idea of getting older and people dying off, family, whatever, and suddenly realizing that you are like alone. And even though I'm an independent person, I love my alone time and everything, but I have siblings and parents and all that stuff, and to suddenly be like really old and fragile and to not have anybody anymore, it's a very scary thing. But then you have kids looking out for you and a relationship with your kids and maybe grandkids, and you have a network, and that sounds really positive. I'm a pretty maternal person, really. I like taking care of people. I like nurturing people. I like making sure people in my life are okay. There's going to be challenges, especially within the first 5 years or so, like as someone who struggles with sensory stuff and this and that. But I do have a support network. The benefits will outweigh the cons by a million times. I think it's going to be the most important and rewarding experience of my entire life. I'm excited, but also there's a few things I want to do before I have kids, because my 20s were I didn't really feel like I lived my 20s to the fullest, as I've mentioned before.
Oh yes, back to the wasted youth thing. I've completely wasted my youth. From 18 to 21, I lived in my small mountain, dirty old town. I moved here, thought things were going to be really good. My only friend went to work up north and stuff for months at a time. I met no new friends, not many experiences, and then COVID happened, so I was once again isolated, and now and I look like a bag.
And I feel like I'm finally feeling comfortable in my like womanhood. For a while, I was just like, I had so many negative associations with being a woman. I didn't have the best female role models in my life. A lot of ditzy, kind of mean, like people, a lot of like teachers, especially EAs. I didn't have, like, now I have a lot of, my sisters and like all these other people. I've always had a really close relationship with my sisters, very good in many ways, but we didn't always see eye to eye, especially being the weird kid in the group. And my sister's been like, oh, don't do this or else you'll make us look bad, you're gonna be weird, and you can't, blah blah blah. I was definitely on the bottom end of the pecking order, and I would do anything for my sisters too, and it'd be like, oh, Caitlin, grab me a glass of water, okay, Caitlin, do this, okay, Caitlin, if you do this, I'll love you forever, okay, like, and in some ways it was good that they're like, Caitlin, don't do this or don't do that or else it'll come off weird socially, because if I was like an only child, I wouldn't have really learned the ropes socially as well. So at the time, it made me kind of resent, or like I felt like a bit of irritation towards my siblings for constantly wanting to please me. In retrospect, it was kind of good for my development. All three of us were very, very different, and even though overall we really got along, like especially during like the teen years and stuff, there could be like a lot of friction. I spent a lot of time with my dad. I really related to him. My close friends were usually guys. The people I admired were usually guys. My dad caught on to the fact that I maybe needed more female role models and was like, Lady Gaga, she likes weird fashion, she's short, she's, you could like Lady Gaga. But I was just like, I don't know. But then I watched a documentary on Charles Bukowski. I was like, this is the guy. This is it.
The further away I am from the human race, the better I feel. Even though I write about the human race, the further away I am from them, the better I feel. 2 inches is great, 2 miles is great, 2,000 miles is beautiful, as long as I'm able to eat. They feed me because I feed them, but I don't like to be near them. When somebody even brushes against me with an elbow in a crowd, I react. I do not like the human race. I don't like their heads, I don't like their faces, I don't like their feet, I don't like their conversations, I don't like their hairdos, I don't like their automobiles, I don't like their dogs or their cats or their roses.
He is devoted to the de-Disneyfication of all of us. Someone has to kick the Mickey Mouse out of our heads.
He despised Mickey Mouse, especially his hands. I think he has 3 fingers. He could not handle the fact that the power over multi-millions of human beings was in the hands of this 3-fingered, foolish creature that taught you nothing whatsoever, that expressed nothing real, total absurd fucking fantasy, not even good, not even creative. He was appalled by Mickey Mouse.
Another documentary on George Carlin. I'm like, who is this? I relate to this person.
Now, you wouldn't know it from some of the things I've said over the years, but I like people. I do. I like people, but I like them in short bursts. I don't like people for extended periods of time. I'm all right with them for a little while, but once you get up past around minute and a half, I got to get the fuck out of there. And my reason for this, is for one that you may share, possibly. I have a very low tolerance level for stupid bullshit. That's all. Stupid bullshit. Think about it. Religion has actually convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you.
Even as a Catholic, I still love George Carlin. I don't agree with everything the Catholic Church does or stands for, but overall, I agree with the principles. They, being nice to each other, don't hurt each other, and, the 10 Commandments and blah, blah, blah. I like the idea of somewhere you go every Sunday and interact with your community and reflect and think about what's important in life, and think about the people who need to be thought of. I think reflecting on how you can improve as a person, having a mentor as like a priest, someone who's educated and thoughtful. And yeah, I know there's been issues with priests in the Catholic Church and stuff, not good. They're trying to, fix that, I guess, but it's hard because then there's a lot of priests. It's just, that's a whole other thing. Like, at least my priest, he's like a younger priest. He's a go-getter. He's very attentive and thoughtful, and Catholic priests especially are very well educated. It takes a long time to become a priest. You have to learn about theology and all this other stuff. I am a supporter of LGBT rights and relationships, of course. I have my own perspective on that and how that relates to the Catholic Church. That the concept of marriage and what that means has changed a lot. I feel like before it was very much like to make kids for survival, and having any kind of relationship, heterosexual or not, that was not for the purpose of procreation was not okay. But now we have the opportunity to marry not just for procreation and, family benefit, but also for love and compatibility. That just wasn't an option for people for a long time. A lot of it was arranged through their parents, what worked best for each family. It was a lot more like a business partnership, or like kind of like a cop duo thing, or like you have two people and you would bond over raising a kid and being partnered, but it wasn't necessarily like you got together because you felt passionate about each other necessarily. Marriage, even to this day, can be like that in some places, like with arranged marriages and things. A lot of people say arranged marriages can actually be more successful because people don't have these really romantic, grandiose ideas of what their marriage should be like, or super unrealistic expectations of their partner, and can kind of work through challenges and flaws a bit better. It's a lot less emotional in a way. It's like, okay, it's a partnership for this purpose. Like, how do we work it? How do we make it work? There's a lot more problem solving instead of like, oh, I don't love you anymore. I need to find the person I love. I think that working through problems and being loyal to each other, even when things are hard, creates for a better relationship. I think that there's a lot of things you can learn from that more traditional arranged marriage style and apply to your chosen marriage with the person that you feel a lot of passion and connection with. And there needs to be a bit of a balance, because a lot of people are like, oh, I fell in love, goodbye, or oh, we're not compatible anymore, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, oh, there's fighting. And instead of like really, really working through it, they just get on the divorce train. And yes, I feel like there are situations where people should get a divorce. Becoming Catholic was a very beautiful experience. We went to a Ukrainian Catholic church that had a lot of refugees. There's a big sense of community. I really like the Eastern Catholicism. We're still aligned with the Pope. It's not quite Orthodoxy, but there's still a lot of that mysticism and tradition of Orthodoxy. I went to a regular Roman Catholic church, more modern style Roman Catholic church here, and there's like TVs and there's sing songs, and it just wasn't it. I'm used to like chanting and choir music and contemplation. I like being connected to my history. I like knowing that I'm doing the same thing as people of previous generations for thousands of years have done. And no matter what things kind of change in our life and how disconnected we feel from our ancestors, or how disconnected we feel from reality, frankly, with all of our AI and modern technology, we can ground ourselves by doing this tradition, be like, oh, I'm not that different from my grandpa or my dad, or, you know, somebody 100 years ago, or my neighbor, or from my kids or my grandkids. And, you know, it grounds you and makes you feel connected to the people around you. And you feel like no matter what changes around you, we as a core, people are the same. Like I know people are very different, but like we're not as different as it sometimes feels that we are. Yes, we all have different talents and backgrounds and interests. Like as individuals, we're very different, but I feel like as a species, as people throughout the generations, we're all still people. Sometimes you look at like an old black and white photograph or old art, and they just feel so far away. That it's like, oh, that's just a completely different way of life and looking at things. But then sometimes you dig deeper and you find old writings and you know, artwork or this and that, and you're like, oh, like people were the same in many ways. And I think it's comforting in some ways to think, oh, we're so far away from that. We're so far away. We're different. We're better. We have better technology. Our values are better. We're away from nature. I feel like being grounded in what makes us human, in nature, in our history, and our community is a really good thing. And I think Catholicism promotes that a lot. I feel like there needs to be more places for people to gather, meet in person. Like I said with the dating apps, it doesn't really work all that well. And I think a lot of people are having the same issue. And you look back, and a lot of people, it took a bit of time for them to fall in love with their partner. A lot of the time it was through church, work, school, and it was maybe a few years of just seeing the same person every week or every day, and then a connection builds, a familiarity, and you start seeing different things, and you start to know each other, and then you start to you know, sometimes fall in love. It's not like, oh, first date, oh, didn't like them, never see them again. That's not how things really went for a long time. I've known people that met each other on apps and it worked. That shouldn't be the only option. I know it's really good for gay people because, like I've said before, it's hard to know who's gay and who's not. At least you know all those people can be attracted to you that you're filtering through on the app.
You can't know for sure if they're a lesbian. I don't know how these gay guys all know who's gay and who's not. Like, I don't know, maybe it's like you just find someone that's a little fruity and just kind of, you know, hope for the best. Like, I don't know.
We need to find new ways via exploring old methods for finding friendships and long-term romantic relationships. Social media can be pretty toxic, but also the internet and some social media can be good. I met my husband, it was via technically a Discord meetup. I didn't know what anyone looked like, who would all be there, but technically that was through social media. My best friend, we talked a lot on Facebook Messenger. We'd have these long conversations when we were in high school, and that developed our relationship. I have interesting conversations with people online. I can stay connected to my family. I can make these YouTube videos. I can share my art. There's a lot of good things about the internet, but there needs to be moderation, especially with the sensational news headlines and hearing all the horrible information over and over again and all this intense stuff and not using... I'm guilty of it too. Like, I feel like, man, I can learn about anything I want on the internet, but a lot of the time I just look at photos and blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of people they want to feel connected to people and they don't know how, so they just scroll on their phone and hope that somehow that leads to something, because that's That's the only way people seem to make friends these days. It seems as though people are kind of getting fed up with the status quo and want to meet more in person. A vibe shift, a change. The Catholic Church has seen a lot of converts. People are questioning things. People are questioning the wealth inequality. People are questioning the government. People are questioning policies. You know, people are questioning social norms. People are questioning why we have more division now. I think I'm getting off topic. I've gone off topic. I'm very happy at where my life is now. I could have never seen any of this coming. Sometimes just things, you know, it seems like there's been years that have felt like months, and then months that have felt like years. I have had more change and interesting life experiences in this last little while than I've had for years spent in Cranbrook or in my little apartment during COVID and this and that. Things are just getting better and better. My future looks so bright. I'm very happy. I'm excited. I never thought I'd be living on a Caribbean island, married with a wonderful husband, looking after puppies. Honestly, since going to the Catholic Church, everything has gotten way better. I guess God's looking out for me. I know. I guess when you have a positive mindset and you're open to opportunities, things just open up. Neither of us were quite sure if we wanted a wedding, but I decided I want a small little wedding, a little gathering, a celebration of our marriage, an excuse for our family and friends to all get together. I feel like a lot of people put way too much emphasis on their wedding. They spend all this money, they have all these Pinterest saves, they have a vision in mind, and they get stressed out and miserable and waste all this money, and everyone's stressed and it's not a good time, and you built everything up to this one moment and it can never quite live up to that expectation, and you end up inevitably feeling disappointed. I did not want a bridezilla, intense, glamorous, expensive wedding. I just want everybody to have fun and celebrate and, you know, keep things chill and happy. So I'm not sure when that's going to happen. I'm really looking forward to that. I never thought I would be a bride. So that's really exciting. I've changed so much, but I'm also the same. I'm same old weird, artsy, fashion, Caitlin girl. So I hope that everything has been going well with everyone else, and all of you have been doing well and are happy and healthy. And thank you for watching my video. I might make more videos, I might not, I don't know, we'll see. I'm getting some more puppies today. I'm really looking forward to meeting them.